What's happening, peeps? Bonafide Hustler here, and today I'm going to talk about the top 5 items that sell in my antique booth. So hopefully you guys can hear me. It is good to see you. It's a Friday here in Austin, Texas. It's really hot outside, but I'm going to get to the items here in 1 second. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. That's very important. And I plan to drop a little bit more antique-based videos or antique booth-based videos for the rest of the year. So anyways, yes, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on the booth. And when I say a little bit more, maybe an extra hour or two a week, and trying to do things smarter, right? Because, you know, if you do things smarter in regards to an antique booth, you can really maximize what I believe to be the return that you get out of it. Of course, when you get into an antique booth, you have to make sure a couple things. I get a lot of these questions in the back, like through Facebook and stuff, like, you know, what should I do? I'm thinking about getting a booth, or I got a booth because of your videos. So here's the thing, like if you're interested in this type of income stream, just make sure that you get into a booth business or an antique mall that has good foot traffic, and it has not only good foot traffic, but also has people walking around with stuff in their hands. That's really, really important, okay? So, and I like to have a little bit more, I like to take one step further and go, I like to see younger type people, like the kind of people that would maybe be watching Storage Wars and American Pickers. I want to see people like that, like picking up things as well. So that's kind of like the 3 things that I'm looking for. And when I pulled the trigger on my booth, or the rent of my booth, or the business of my booth, way long time ago, like five years ago or so, like those are some of the things that I had to consider. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely the antique mall for me. So I'm going to talk about the top 5 things that sell in my booth. And the interesting thing about this is they sell at a very, very, very steady rate, to where it worries me, right? Because sometimes I'll go in my booth and I'll be like, holy crap, there were like 5 of that over there in that corner, and now there's only like 1 of those. Or for example, I know you're going to know about 2 of these for sure, but I have a wall, right, of this one item in my booth, and I go to the wall and it just seems like I'm getting less and less and less. I'm like, oh my God, like that scares me, because or more and more are selling, and it's harder to find this stuff at a good deal in this town. So let's get to item number 1. Of course, you probably know what it is, because I do have a boot wall in my booth in Austin, Texas, okay? So check this out. This is something that I'm always looking for, and I'm looking to spend up to about $10 at a garage sale for these things. Now, when it comes to the brands, yeah, I would love for them to be Tony Lama or Dan Post or Justin or Lucchese. In fact, most of the Lucchese stuff that I find will go to eBay. Like that would never find it to my booth. But I'm looking for boots. And, you know, when I did these videos like 4 years ago and 3 years ago, I was like, yeah, two-tone is best and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a bunch of people moving to Austin, Texas or something like that, but there are a lot of people buying boots now, and they're buying all sorts. Like I even sold a really like totally cheap pair. Like they were cheap to me, right? But I knew they were cheap in like it wasn't the highest grade leather. It was like a no-name brand. They were pure white though, right? And I know a lady bought it because they were women's. But I think I bought those at a garage sale for like $1, maybe like $3, and they like netted me, like after the whole check was done, like $46. Now that's pretty good considering all I did was buy it from a sale, put a tag right here, and threw it on a shelf. That is all I did. So I cannot find these fast enough to sell them, and it sucks because I probably have now at this point like 5 or 6 pairs of boots left. Here will be the 7th pair going up tomorrow. These were found last weekend for $5. They were just at a random like yard sale thing. And next to them were a pair that was like really, really shot, and they wanted 15 for those. And it, you know, was made of like some snake stuff, but like it was kind of torn up. So I decided to pass on that. And that's where I pass on boots. It's when there's too much like wear and tear and they're too far gone. Like these are still pretty good. In fact, these are probably Tony Lamas. They say Tony Lama down there. But yeah, you know, this is just a standard pair of boots. It's a single color. Two-tone, of course, is a lot more preferable, but when you have a problem, and it's the best kind of problem, right? The best kind of problem is the problem where you don't know how to meet the demand, right? Like that's a really good problem to have. Like anywhere in business, that's a really good problem. So I don't, my only way of maybe like, you know, addressing this situation is to start maybe like in Goodwills, they have some good boots that are like up to about $15, sometimes $25. And I'm gonna have to start looking into those and maybe getting into that 46, you know, maybe doing $25 to get $20 out of it and sell it at 45, right? I'm gonna have to start thinking those kind of things. I don't like having more than like $10 in my booth on a pair of boots, like as a risk. Like I just don't like it, but I might have to, right? So here's a pair of Cowboy boots. They are, you know, Do I tag them with the size? I don't, right? I don't do that because usually cowboy boots are unisex, so I don't want to be like, these are men's 10 or these are men's 8 when clearly like a woman's 9 or a women with a 10-foot foot or 10-foot foot, I guess, yeah, could just get into them and try them on too. So I don't want to like, say they're men's or women's. I just put cowboy boots. I don't even put the brand. I just put cowboy boots and like the tag number and what I want to ask for them. So there's that right there. Okay, so that's item number 1, cowboy boots. Now look at, this is the thing, guys. The more rare the composition of the boot, right? When it starts going away from leather and it starts becoming like snake skin, it starts becoming, belly of caiman, crocodile, whatever. And it starts becoming like ostrich, for example. Like those are the ones that you really want to consider not putting in the booth. Okay, those should probably go to eBay. Doesn't matter if it's like smooth quill, full quill, like those things probably belong on eBay, or at least, give it a shot. So anyway, got a lot of people here in the feed here. I love, this is a really good suggestion from Christian St. Ange, who I've met in real life. He's an awesome person. With such quick sell-through, time to increase the price slightly. Yes, and when I put these, so I have a 40% off sale going on my booth right now, and I'm probably going to list these at around, I don't know, maybe like $80. Of course, with the 40% off, like I might get right around the $50 mark. So, and they're nothing special, but they are Tony Lamas, and you can get boots resold. So if someone fits into these boots, and you're usually going to like try to take a couple steps in them. These are like nicely broken in. You can kind of tell with boots when you start seeing these creases right here, right? They're nicely broken in. They got a good color that, yeah, like you can get those resold all day. Now, where you want to kind of like charge a little bit more, like clearly you want to charge more, is like I said before, like if you decide like, okay, I don't want to mess with eBay, but I want to put these full quill ostrich boots in my booth, or I don't want to mess with eBay and I want to put these like full-blown rattlesnake boots in my booth, yeah, you should go for the moon and the stars on that one. You should charge as much as you really want to, but do not put them as a base level. Like those clearly would be bought like within a week or so, even with moderate foot traffic. Now, I also have noticed that when the stitching becomes more intricate on the boot, whether it's, doesn't matter what it is, it's usually on leather though, but when the stitching gets more intricate and when the stitching has different colors, okay, that would, for me, warrant charging a higher price. There's just more character to the boot, that kind of stuff. I might get a question here, and I've got this behind the scenes like every now and then, but like, what do you do when there's like a personalized like letter on a boot or whatever like that? I still just sell them, but I put them at kind of like a base level, unless it's like a college sports team or something like that. Like if it's an A&M, TCU, one of those things here in Texas, you're probably going to see Longhorn ones and stuff like that. And I've hustled them before. Those I'll put at a premium level, right? Because that's here to Texas. But if I find one and it's like, Michigan State or whatever, like, okay, like first of all, who's going to wear cowboy boots in Michigan State? Cowboy boots are kind of like a Southern like US thing, I guess. So yeah. So if it has people's initials on it, then yeah, it depends. Like if the initials are back here or here, and a lot of times they'll be like right here. Like right here is not a big deal because most times, like especially on a guy boot, like the cuff of the pant will go over it. You'll never see the letters. But like on a women's boot, like I think at that point I would probably price them down. But you have to also always look at what the boot looks like, right? Because if the initials are on a really cool looking boot, someone out there is just going to pay to get them de-embroidered. I guess that's the term to it. So anyways, cowboy boots, number 1 thing that sells in my booth. Number 1 thing. I've always wanted to make my boot wall like so much more, but like it's really, really hard to do that. All right, so the number 2 thing, and here's some examples right here. Let me pull them forward. I have a bin right here. Let me just pull the whole bin up here. This is all the stuff that's going to my booth like tomorrow. So I hope you guys are enjoying this content, by the way. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit the like button, okay? Let me make sure. Yeah, I definitely need to like increase my price. I know that much. And the funny thing is I've been doing that and it's just like, what? Like I still have not figured out the solution. Okay, so here's the next thing that sells in the booth: retro and vintage t-shirts, okay? Now, a lot of times when I find a really good vintage t-shirt, such as like a really awesome rock band, a Maiden, a Slayer, Metallica, a Megadeth, like something like that, I'm probably gonna put that one on eBay, right? But when it comes to just other things that sell in the booth for really good money, I find excursion type things and hobby type things will sell for good money. Like excursion type things, meaning like Club Med type stuff, just certain like resorts from like back in the day that are real cool, like a vintage sandals thing, or excursions, or even exercise stuff like jazzercise stuff, just random things that tie itself to like stress reduction, I guess, right? And then hobby stuff, right? People build funny cars, fast cars, and this isn't this. I've always found these here and there, like at least once a quarter, I find funny car shirts and stuff like that. So here we have one that's perfect. Like this was $1 at a garage sale, and this is just the kind of like the perfect example of what could sell in the booth right here, right? This is got great colors, right? It's black. It's got Joe Penland Racing. It's just got that like retro look to it. So cool. 1993, right? So I would say that's definitely retro, not vintage. And who cares what the shirt size is? I put this in a prominent location in the booth, not necessarily in the shirt rack, but I put it I always bring 2 to 3 things forward, like in the forward, like as soon as you look at my booth, there's usually 2 shirts to the left side on the side of a bookcase. And then there's one that's like at the front of the clothing rack. Like it's not in the rack, it's at the very, very front. It's in the rack, but it's at the very, very, very front. So you see it first. So this would be kind of an example of something I would put first. And while it's still kind of hot here in Austin, Texas, like I'm thinking this and tank tops as being lead things that I want people to look at in my booth. Good color, good subject matter. It's interesting, right? It's just one of those things. It's interesting. It's a cool looking shirt. So that's one that would go in the front. Here's another one that I found. This one is pretty cool. This is $1 at the same place. Remember how I said, like, when it comes to like excursions or stress reduction type things, here we go. A Boston Marathon shirt, right? This is awesome. Look at these colors, man. I mean, that's cool. That is straight awesome right there. So I like that. Maybe I'm the only person that thinks that, but it's definitely retro. And we can maybe tie this back to maybe late 80s, early 90s, because you can see how the Boston is done with like the splatter paint and everything. But I thought this was pretty cool. And it's probably a beefy tee. What is this thing? A Fruit of the Loom, right? So you don't see this very much anymore on shirts. But I thought that was a pretty solid shirt right there. Yeah, what's up, College Picker? Good to see you. So let's talk about what I would sell. First of all, the funny car shirt with a 40% off sale, I'm probably going to be asking somewhere around the 22 to 28 range. And then this Boston shirt right here, probably be around the 22 to 28 range as well, because you have to factor in the 40% off sale and all that. Always try to have my booth on sale at some point. Like there's always some sale amount going on in the booth. But I try to gauge versus the shirt that I have. And one of the ways you can tell a retro and vintage shirt a lot of times, well, let's put it this way. A retro and a vintage shirt to me has 2 kind of giveaways. One is it could be made of like almost like a 50-50 cotton poly blend. Like they hug your body well and they got a very thin collar, right? That's one of the ones that you'll see out there. I don't know if it's like Screen Stars or whatever, but you'll see one with a thinner collar. Then you get these ones with like really, really super thick collars, like I think that was Jerseys, Fruit of the Loom. There's some other ones out there. Beefy tee is a little bit more like current day. But yeah, like these kind of things where the collar is like damn near an inch, it looks like, right? It's just a huge fat collar. I hate these type of shirts personally, but I like the ones with a thinner collar. But yeah, like Screen Stars is a good one. So I look for that. I price them accordingly based upon the subject matter that is there. Here's something that's like not quite retro, right? Or vintage, but it's neat enough to put in the booth, okay? So you can kind of bend the rules a little bit. And this one I found last weekend for like 50 cents or something like that. I think I paid $1 for 2 shirts. So this is one of the 2 shirts. This is nothing crazy. In fact, I want just a freaking Cabela shirt. It's a Cabela shirt, which we know that's like current day, but it's neat enough to put in the booth and it could be mistaken for something retro. So they would have totally allowed me to sell this thing. But I thought that was a pretty good one. Nothing, for 50 cents, like I'm going to probably sell this thing for about, when it's all said and done, somewhere between 10 and 15, factoring in the sale and everything that's going on in my antique booth. So, it's just a simple like wolf, but it's nerdy. It's cool. I like it, right? If it was a little bit more camo-ish or something like that, I would have totally passed on it. But the fact it's almost tie-dye looking, like I like that. So I'll swing on this one right there. That was a good one. Let me find you some more stuff. I think there's one more shirt here I wanted to talk about. So yeah, item number two, definitely some retro shirts. Here we have another, just says medium. So I don't even know what the brand of this one is, but this one is a dorky aquarium shirt, right? I like this. This is probably from like the late 90s, early 2000s, but it's just super nerdy. It's got really cool subject matter. And you got to understand, guys, like this aquarium of Niagara Falls, like in this town in Austin, Texas, like we got like a ton of hipsters, right? So if you see hipsters in your town and you're thinking about getting into an antique booth, that's like just a double whammy. Like, yeah, like maybe you really should get into an antique booth because the hipsters will wear anything that makes them feel you know, like different from most people. So we got a shark on there, we got otter, we got seals, we got freaking parrots and penguins and whales and walruses. So that's what we got on that side. We got a puffin on the other side. Pretty cool, right? Again, fat collar, super fat collar right here. Neat shirt. I mean, it's just a neat shirt. I'll probably be asking about 10 to 15 for that, like after all is said and done. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. If you have any cool, how do I say it? If you have any remarks about the stuff that I'm showing you, let me know. And yes, it is hot in Austin, Texas. Why I have a tank top. Like, it's just so hot in this place. I try not to make my house like super cold during the day, because then I'll be greeted with an amazing $400 electricity bill at the end of the month if I keep doing that. So I don't want that at all. Okay, so that's number 2 is retro vintage shirts, right? In fact, I bought this one at a garage sale. This was $1. Now, this happens to be one of my favorite bands of all time. Like, I like it, and I'll tell you why, because the song structure and the talent behind this band is just unprecedented right now. In fact, back in 1999, maybe 2000 or something like that, when they first came into town from their world tour, they were the fastest selling band, and they beat Pearl Jam, okay? So we're the fastest selling band at Stubbs Amphitheater, which is a very big venue here in Austin, Texas. And they sold out within 7 minutes, right? So I managed to get in on that ticket, and I saw them live like back in early 2000s. And then they came back in 2012, and they came back to play again. Now, this band is right here. Every green room show I've done, I think this has been there. I need to hang it up, but it's called The Darkness, okay? This band is awesome. It's not retro. It's current day, but even this in a vintage retro antique booth would sell very well. I actually did go to this concert. When they came back into town, I dropped everything. Here it is, Austin, Texas, 2012. I probably have the stubs to that concert. I don't keep concert stubs, but for some reason I kept the concert stubs to this band. Yeah, it's an amazing, I'm telling you, if you like really good metal music that reminds you of like Thin Lizzy and Queen and good stuff like that with, you know, falsettos and all that junk, this band is just too talented, like too talented. And when you look at it from a musical, how do I say it, an appreciation standpoint of like how the things are constructed and how talented these people are in the solos, you start to realize like, wow, there's like not any competition to this band out there whatsoever. So they are from the UK. Some of the music, you know, talks about drugs and stuff. Like everybody in the UK probably does that. That's in the music industry. And it's just a good band. The reason why I've seen them so much is I like their music, everything, but I feel like there's a train wreck about to happen. And sure enough, it did happen with all the stuff that they were singing about. Eventually, they disbanded for a little bit because the lead singer had a massive cocaine problem. And, you know, I felt lucky enough to have seen them live. And when they reformed, and he went back to rehab, and he came back and he made amazing music again, I was like, I better see this band again before they implode again, right? So that's basically a little explanation on that band, why that shirt could be at my booth. And if you haven't heard this band before, like, definitely go to Spotify and listen to The Darkness and give it a chance. It's kind of weird at first, but give it a chance. And you'll start to realize, like, this stuff is really, really good. Okay, let's talk about number 3. The third item that sells really well in my booth are trucker hats. Now, this is not okay, a trucker hat per se, but it is a vintage retro hat, okay? So this is more like a trucker style right here. Here's a chevron, you know, hat. And typically trucker hats are the kind of hats that have like an abrupt kind of like angle right here, bam, bam, and they have a really big crown. I guess is what they call that part of the hat, a high crown, right? So this is a chevron one. One size fits all, made in Taiwan. Appears to be semi-retro. Now this hat right here, bought it for like what, $1 or $2. I'll be asking somewhere in the vicinity of 14 to 18 for this hat right here. It's in good condition. The bill is not completely bent to shreds, and inside we don't have a bunch of that, you know, nasty stuff that like foams away and everything and gets all over your hair. Like, it's still a very good hat. And I know it's retro. You can just feel it. It's retro. So, yeah, you know, the lowest I'd ever sell this thing for would be $12. The highest I could get, I could probably sell this thing for would be like 18 in the booth. But that's what's going on through my head when I'm picking a $1 or $2 hat up. Right here, it was a $2 hat as well. I think it was $2. Maybe it was $1. I think when College Picker was in town, we bought this one. Does have a tiny cigarette hole in the back. Nothing crazy, but it's a retro crested Butte, Colorado hat, and it's not trucker style, but it's still crazy retro because it has that Velcro thing in the back right there. It's got a Velcro strap, and it's very mesh. I guess this would be called like a mesh floppy hat or something like that. But nevertheless, I could still probably get somewhere between 12 and 18 for this, based upon its rarity and just the actual, thing in the front looks really. It's got pink. Anytime you get that like pink with neon green or pink with neon blue, like you start getting those color combinations, people start looking, okay, like this is mega rare. Like I ain't gonna find this anywhere else in Austin besides this booth. And that's what they're probably thinking. They're gonna stick it on their head for a second. They're gonna look at their girlfriend and they're gonna go, does it look good? And the girlfriend goes, that's rad. And then that's it. They pick it up. That's essentially what's going on, right? They're not gonna go to eBay and check this thing. I guarantee you they're not going to eBay and seeing if they can get a better deal on it. If it fits and it's in the moment and they feel good, that's it. That's what the booth's all about. I don't think a whole lot of people that go to my booth cross-check eBay or any of those sites. I really don't think so, because the booth is more of an experience and it's more of like a hunt. It's like a treasure hunt. So let me make sure. Yeah, so College Picker says Modest Yahoo Live at Stubbs was a good album. Yeah, I've actually listened to that one. That one's awesome. So hopefully we're okay, good. And if you got any questions about the stuff that I'm talking about, let me know. So that's number 3 is trucker style hats, like hats like this. Like this would be a perfect hat for my booth. And the funny thing is, this one on eBay, I've never found the one with the gold crested letters or anything, but I think it's around 20 to 25 bucks. In my booth, I could probably charge 30 for this thing. Like it's just that cool, right? But I decided to keep it. It was a $1 hat found at a bicycle swap meet like 4 weeks ago, and awesome hat. I love it. I'm not selling it. I like it a lot. So anyway, so that's the third thing, right? Like hats, particularly trucker style hats. Like I like trucker style hats, but you're not going to find many trucker style hats when it comes to like funny car stuff, whether it's like old AMSOIL kind of stuff or Snap-on tools or Husky. Like, like you're going to find those are going to be a little bit more fitted type hats, right? But there can still be retro. So you got to start, like just because I say trucker hats is my preference, like I go into fitted hats as well. But when it starts becoming like 5950 and those like really fresh looking ones that are like super current day, like I don't pop on those. When it also comes to hats like vintage sports team, not vintage, like sports teams, they're vintage, line, whether it be Shark Tooth or it be Splash or it be Big Logo, like those will do well in my booth as well. But those seem to do, it just depends on the college, right? Because clearly if it's like some B grade college, like no one's going to buy the hat. But if it happens to be, my most recent one was a Miami one that sold for like 28 or so. I want to say it's Hurricanes or something like that, but it was a Big Logo Hurricanes hat. Pretty cool. So that was that. I sold a Shark Tooth Cowboys one like 2 months before that. That was in pretty bad shape, but hey, I don't care. Like I was asking pretty top dollar for it because it's just rare, right? In the moment, someone's going to put it on and go, okay, that's cool. So that's the Darkness shirt. Let's talk about the fourth thing that sells well in my booth. This one has recently picked up full steam ahead. Now, I don't know why, but we deal with hipsters in this town. We got Texans in this town, and ranch people probably go into those booths. And maybe that's the explanation. But anytime I can come across, and I almost never pay more than $5 for these things, okay? But actual hats, that's what I'm talking about right there. So actual hats, some with bolos, some without, or whatever this band is around here. Maybe it's a bolo. I think the bolo is the thing that goes around your neck. But yeah, some with or without the band, the more bohemian it starts looking. Like I don't care. I won't touch anything current day, but I'll touch hats all day. And I'm looking at more predominantly male hats. I know there's like a bazillion Victorian era like female hats I could hustle, or things from like the 60s or 50s, but I'm not messing with that kind of stuff. I'm looking at stuff that might have found its way in like Once Upon a Time in Mexico, like movies like Clint Eastwood Western kind of things, hats that might be, worn by bands like Blues Traveler, like just neat band travel across America hats. Things like that. I kind of don't like to get into like the hats that are a little bit more artistic style, or that look more like a French painter or a beret style. Like that is just a little bit more current day. Like I don't get into those. But I like hats like this, right? This could be called like a ranch style hat, right? It's not exactly a cowboy hat, because typically cowboy hats are like straw, as far as I know. But yeah, a ranch style hat, something to just really keep the sun from beating down on your head all day. This one is a Lone Star hat. This is probably a little bit more current day. It's a good looking hat, you know, size 59. It's a 7/3/8 or 7/3/8 is the size. This was like $1. Like these things are just dirt cheap here in Austin. I don't know how I find them. I always pay attention to this stuff. Now hats in my booth are like minimum, you know, if they're beat to hell, like 15 would be my baseline. I would sell these things for, but it seems like between 20 and 35 is where these things shake out at. So that's cool. And this is one of the ones. Remember how I said like, you know, I can go to my booth and there'll be 5 of something, and then I'll come like, you know, a week and a half later and there'll be like 1 left. Like this is a perfect example of that. Hats sell really well in my booth, and I love the ones when they start getting a little bit more intricate, like corduroy, or they look like maybe train hats, not locomotive type people hats, but the, you know, when people would get on trains and they would have tweed suitcases, maybe you were like an old banker back in the day, like those type of hats. I don't know how to explain it, but they're very prominent in films like Tombstone or 310 to Yuma, that kind of stuff. So that sells well in my booth, you know, and yeah, I like. I definitely when the composition becomes a little bit better, like I said with the corduroy thing. I like leather ones that are pretty cool, but sometimes those can kind of be mistaken for like dungaree type hats or like Australian type outback type hats, you know. But still, I pop on those as well because it's full blown leather. Like what the hell, you know? If you got a full blown leather piece, whether it be a boot or a hat, and it's $1 at a garage sale, and you got the method to move it, or you have a place to move it where you can make it into $20 or $30, like you should be swinging all day. So hats definitely number 4 thing that I'm looking for to put in my booth. I think this is in a really good condition one, so this is going to be a little bit higher. This is going to be in the 25, 30 range right here for that hat. All right. Okay. Hope you guys are having fun with this. You know, it's just one of those. Here's a question: do you get a lot of tourists visiting your booth? Yeah, I believe that there's a lot of tourists, but I think it's a lot more people in town and hipsters and stuff like that. There's just so much cool stuff. People that are trying to get that very eclectic spin on their house. Like they have a nice house, you know, it's probably expensive as hell in Austin, Texas, and it's probably no more than 2,000 square feet. It's probably a house that was built in the 70s or 80s, but they've redone it, right? And they want to get that like last finishing touch to the house. So I find that those people visit the antique mall a lot. I also feel like, especially during summer times, like the students, when they're off school, even on the weekends when it's like full-blown school year, like I feel like students come there to, you know, to put things together. Hipsters go there to put their wardrobe together. You'll see a lot of sales before Halloween, right? Because people are trying to put Halloween costumes together. So there's that. But I think the number one like client that comes to the antique mall is going to be someone that wants something a little bit more different in their house. So it's not necessarily clothing related. It's more like house related, like something cool. It's a conversation piece, whether it be an old camera or it's an arrow sign with the light bulb still in it, you know, or something like that. But yeah, they're looking for really, really cool things to just provide that last amazing accent to their house. That's what I think is the number one clientele in the booth. So we got Thrifty Treasures in the house. Good to see ya. 49 viewers in the house too. So now I want to show you, of course, take a guess what the last item is real quick. The last really good selling item in my booth. Take a guess real quick. While you're taking that guess, I will get it kind of situated. Now I'm going to show you a couple of these that I decided to keep. And then I'm going to show you about 3 that I'm going to sell. And then I think you know what this one is. I think everybody knows what this one is. And I think this is definitely a little bit more southern, like New Mexico probably sell this well. Arizona, Texas, maybe in California, maybe. But, you know, it's definitely huge in Texas. Probably other states that are close, maybe Oklahoma, you know, stuff like that. Possibly Arkansas. All right, so Christian has it right. Pearl snap shirts. Okay, so I'm gonna show you one that I picked up last weekend, but I'm not gonna sell it. I just put it on. I was like, oh my god, actually, it fits pretty good. Okay, so this is pearl snap shirts are interesting when you get a really, really, really good one. Eli Calvin makes some really amazing ones. There's another brand. It slips my mind right now, but they're very ornate. I want to say it's Rock Mount. I think that's it. Yeah, if you find a Rock Mount or a very ornate Eli Cattleman, which I'm about to show you one, then those belong on eBay. Like 100% belong on eBay. they can almost look like Robert Graham shirts. Like the really intricate pearl snap shirts. You go to some of these stores, like I want to say Luke Casey still like makes them too. Like those, I mean, when you go to the store and buy them new, they're like 150 to like $200 a shirt. They have pearl snaps, but there's so much like embroidery and stuff, and the colors are cool. And I don't know who buys these things, but I'll show you not that caliber, okay, but I'll show you the caliber right below that right here. And I bought this for $1 at a garage sale last weekend. So this one is an Eli Cattleman, and this is an example of a shirt that would be about 28 to maybe like $32 in my booth. It's right here, all right? So here's an Eli Cattleman. We know it's a pearl snap shirt because it has the pearl snap buttons, blah, 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 which is definitely like the basis of a pearl snap shirt. To have a pearl snap buttons, even if they're square, it's okay. But this one's awesome, right? Check it out. Let me just show you the back of it. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. This one has strands of silver and gold in it. Not actual silver and gold, but, you know, threads, string, whatever. You can kind of see it reflecting right there. And it's so nice. Like this is the type of shirt that you would see in a rock band video or a Killers video or something like that, right? It's just so pretty. Hopefully you can see like it glittering around and stuff. So this is an example of a $28 to $32 shirt in my booth all day. This was $1 at the yard sale, and it fits me near perfectly. I have another one that I'm going to show you, okay, that fits me dead on. And this one's real close. So I'm like, oh, you know, I'll hang on to this and then wear it for like a year or something. Then I'll put it in my booth at that point. But yeah, it's a blue shirt. It's like so cool. This, you know, this with the right trucker hat or this with the right hairstyle and the right jeans and the right boots or even Vans, for example, you could rock this and you will have a conversation piece in about 2 seconds when you go to the bar and you're around all the ladies and all that kind of stuff. Like this just gets people's attention, okay? It's very clear to see. And yeah, there's really no explanation to it. Like you should know, like you see a dude wearing this, if you're a lady and you see a guy, this is like a magnet. Like it just, you go right to it and you're like, hey, you know, like a nice shirt, like that will spark all the conversation left. That's all you need for a conversation to be sparked is just a really cool item of something, whether it be a bracelet, a watch, a shirt. Typically, that's what starts it all. So this has crazy value in it. Now, let me tell you a story real quick before I show you the next one. That back in the day, like, I don't know if it's called peacocking or whatever, but there's a term in, how do I say it? Without being like condescending or anything like that, because, you know, I don't want to be like that. But, you know, back in the day, I was very interested, and I still am, but like I have a wife now, but like I was really interested in women, right? And meeting them and the whole like study of the whole thing, like that totally interested me. But I came to the point where I was so confident and I'd worked out a lot and all this kind of stuff. And I'd really tuned myself to meeting a lot of females. And I realized that as I got more confident, my desires to wear more rare or not the same as everyone else is wearing kind of stuff like increased, right? So that's the reason why this is a $28 and $32 shirt, because the right kind of person that wears this has the mentality like, I'm not the same as everyone else. Like I am different. Like I want to wear different things and I want to be known as a different person, right? So I was wearing stuff like this like many years ago. Like this would be like, I'd pay up to like 80 or 90 bucks for a shirt like this. And this is before I even was the bona fide hustler. Like I was going to stores and buying stuff at secondhand stores like to wear downtown, that I was like, I gotta find something that nobody else has. Like that was that important to me. And I settled, there's one shirt that is in my closet. I think people know about this story, but I wore once every 2 weeks or so, I wore a ruffle shirt downtown, like to the bars. A shirt with full-blown ruffles like down here, like that you would wear at like under a tuxedo or something. Like I would wear it out, and it has the initials TJ on the bottom. So whoever TJ is passed his like women meeting mojo to me, right? And when I sell that shirt, which it's still in that closet, like I just like it. It has represented something to me that is just very, like I can't replicate it. So like I hang on to that shirt. I never wear it though, but like I hang on to it. And I need to put my initials on it, and then maybe put it on eBay or something like that and explain the story behind it. But it is that, you know, it's that important to me, because that shirt like represented an era of my life where I was just what I considered myself to be unstoppable, right? I was just unstoppable. So yeah, it's kind of like a pirate shirt from Seinfeld. I'll show you the ruffle shirt on the next hangout. If someone reminds me I will show it to you. Like, it's so cool. It probably now it doesn't, like, you know, I was 10 pounds lighter then and everything, so it fit tight back then. Like, it's probably going to be very tight now, but it represents something to me, right? And this is going to represent somebody that is, and that's what you got to be thinking when you're buying these things. Not only should you be thinking money, but you should be thinking, where does this thing shake out in my price range that I'm asking for? Like, is this one of the top ones? How many of these could possibly, when's the last time I saw one of those things, right? You should be asking those things. And if you don't see them ever, then you need to be charging the pinnacle of the market price for it, right? Because nobody's going to look at this and then get on eBay and go, Eli Cattleman, like, how would you even describe this thing? You would have to look through like thousands of listings to even find one of these. So that's a perfect example. Now, something else that came from my closet that I'll probably be wearing a fair amount this year is another Eli Cattleman. Here's the best part. It's the black version of what I just showed you. I've had this thing for like 7 years or so. I've wore it about 4 times, but it's not like it represents confidence or anything to me. It's just rare and it's cool, right? So here's the black version of it. I'll show you this one. This one's really awesome. I mean, it's got the gold strands and it's just awesome, right? It's amazing. You can kind of see it. I'm trying to get the light to shine with it and everything, but it's gold and silver strands on a black Pro Snap shirt. If this one's the one that fits like dead on, it's an amazing. This one right here is a $32 shirt all day in my booth, all freaking day, right? The person that's going to pick this up won't even think twice. They'll put it on and be like, all right, that's it. I'm buying it. Like, that's essentially all that's going on in their head. They're not going to start cross-referencing it and going to Poshmark or whatever these places are to find a comparable one. This is going to be it. Okay. Yeah, the black one's cool. And like, you know, I'm still a very confident person at heart. I have a wife now, so, you know, the whole like being a peacock and like showing my feathers, like, who cares about that? But, you know, it's still one of those things. I don't like going out and wearing things that most people have. Like, I kind of like to be a little different. So that's what's going on in my head now. I still want to be different, but don't care about the women part so much anymore. Here's an example of I wouldn't call this a baseline shirt, okay? But this is definitely when you're hustling Pro Snap shirts, like this would be right above baseline. And I'll tell you why. Because most Pro Snap shirts are going to have the plaid look to them. Not plaid, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, I guess it is plaid. They're going to have like the plaid, you know, hash marks or all that kind of stuff. It's like a bazillion little tic-tac-toe things going on. But this one has a different one. And this one has a little bit more linear, like ups and downs. The color is really good. Like blues and grays, always, always, always a little bit more of a premium. This is a Ruddock shirt. Not that that matters that much, but it is a Pro Snap shirt. It's nice. Doesn't fit me anymore. In fact, I pulled this one out of my closet right before the show because I was starting to think, like, you know what? Like, this is Pro Snap shirts are one of the fastest selling things in my booth. I've got about 3 to 5 in my closet that I could part with that I just don't fit into anymore because I've gotten larger. So, and larger in a good way. Like, I wanted more muscle and stuff. I'm not larger in a bad way. So that's a Ruddock shirt. This is going to be a shirt that's a classic example of about a $22 to $24 shirt in my booth right here. And then when you start getting into like a $14 to about a $20 shirt, or $14 to $18 shirt, you're looking at something. Actually, none of these are $14 or $18 shirts. I wish I could show you this. Okay, if this shirt right here, right, was this the whole way through, this would be a $14 to about an $18 shirt right here. Okay, this kind of, and this is what I meant by like plaid, I guess. Like, you know, this is like typically most Pro Snap shirts will look like this. They'll have this type of like design. But this one's a little bit, you know, more of a $20 to $24 shirt because the collar is white. It's like extra cool. What is this one made by? Panhandle Slim, a great brand, okay? Back in the day, this probably ran me like $2 to $3. I've had this in my arsenal for about 7 years. Decided to part with it because it doesn't fit me anymore. But it is a really, really cool looking shirt when you have the right kind of boots. And believe it or not, like, I actually have boots that are brown with white on them. Like, so it just brought everything together like incredibly well. So I still have those boots. I can't fit in this shirt anymore, but this is an example of a $20 to $24 shirt right there because the collar is white. So nice caliber Pro Snap shirt right there. And then I'm going to show you one that's getting towards the cusp of about $30. Now this one has embroidery, which is interesting, but it's not the type that maybe you're thinking. So first of all, without the embroidery, I'd say this is a $20 shirt. But the fact it's got embroidery in the right places, this to me now becomes a $30 shirt. So, yeah, we have about 60 viewers in the house. Please hit the like button. Please, 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 please. That would be a great thing to see. And would you wear some of these shirts? Like, let me know. Like, am I the only weirdo that's thinking like, wear different things? Like, I just don't care what people think about me. Let's put it that way. Like, I don't care, but I don't want to be the same. So I try to wear different things most of the time. And then when the weather starts getting colder, it's easier to wear cooler jackets and like neat pearl snap shirts. But when it gets really, really hot, I do have a fair amount of vintage wear, but when it comes really hot, like I gotta wear this. And like it's really hard to find a really cool vintage tank top. It just is. So I buy current day ones now. Okay, so let's talk about this shirt. It's more of a $30 shirt. So let me see if you guys can figure it out. Let me button it up all the way. And you guys tell me if you can figure out why in my booth. So assume that you are me and you've seen my booth before. I think most of the people have seen my booth before. In fact, on my videos, it is one of the first things that you see in my intro. Although the intro is probably going to go away because it's just too long. All right, so here is the front of the shirt. This is a Ruddock, okay? A Ruddock Pearl Snap shirt. It's a great brand. So can you guys figure out what the good selling point? Yeah, man. Thanks, Andrew Alvis. I appreciate that, man. He says, you got some swag. Yeah, man. Telling you. So this is a Ruddock shirt, a Ruddock Pro Snap shirt. You might be thinking that's denim or denim looking. Well, it's very close to denim. So it would go really nicely with a pair of gray, like tighter fit jeans, for example. And then if I bring it closer to the camera, you start to see it's not denim at all. Like it's actually cotton and it just has that neat weave to it, right? So can you guys figure it out? So this is a $30 shirt because now you're talking about, I know, and it's just 2 embroidered stars on there, right? The stars will sell it. Yeah, the stars weren't part of the shirt. They got embroidered after, guaranteed. And I'll tell you why. Because the same person that did that embroidery, right? So you're like, oh yeah, I'm a man, I'm cool. Like I'm a man and I'm getting, girls and I'm at the bar and I'm drinking beer and I'm a man, but I'm also a sensitive man. Why? Because on the back, you got this. Now, some people might be like, whoa, what a buzzkill. Like that was not cool. Like, but to me, like I wore this shirt back in the day many times, like many, many, many times. And it's just a neat, like I don't know, it's like 50% like, oh yeah, intrigued, and then like 50% like, ooh, like, it got sensitive side. That's pretty cool, right? So yeah, you got the hardcore side, like, yeah, like freaking ZZ Top. And then the back of it's just like, I can see this dude playing with like a kid in a little Tyke's house, right? Like pretty cool, right? So that's that right there. And yeah, I mean, it's got some good embroidery. So it's a medium. Even when I was a large, like I would fit into mediums and just fit right. Like the shoulder caps look good and everything. And this was a perfect shirt to wear. Now, the funny thing is when you wear Pearl Snap shirts, I'll give you guys a pro tip here, like especially if you're using these things at bars, to like, I don't know, to meet people. But one of the best things to do is when you wear a Pearl Snap shirt, like try not to put the cuffs all the way down. I'm like super weird and geeky. Like try to have a really neat, like masculine watch on and then roll up your cuffs. So yeah, basically you roll them up like this, right? And then you bring them about right here to your forearm. It's just a better look. So that's what you do. You roll up the arms, okay? When you go out at night, got a Pro Snap shirt, roll up your arms. It's way cool looking. There you go. So that's that shirt right there. It's a $30 shirt all day. In fact, I am going to stamp it as like 40% off sale. It'll probably echo me somewhere around like 26 to 28. Maybe I'll put 44 and then I'll get closer to 30 exactly. So that's pretty much the show. I just wanted to make sure that you guys see kind of like the caliber of items, the 5 items that sell really well in my booth, plus some little funny things I put in there. Black Hawk surplus in the feed saying hipsters. Ugh, yeah. I don't want to be a hipster. I'm not a hipster, right? But living in Austin, Texas, like people want to look different. Like that's just what it is. But it's not hipsterish. Like hipsters are different. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's not a timeless look. Like this, like Pearl Snaps were cool 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I was wearing them. They're still cool now. Like they are still in. So I don't think they're ever not going to become cool. And that's one of the reasons why I like Pearl Snap shirts so much is that it was timeless. Like cowboy boots, timeless. Like there's just no time when it's uncool to wear a cowboy boot. It's just timeless, right? So all these things, trucker hats, if you think about back in the day, like they've been solid since like the 70s, 80s. Like it's almost timeless as well. So a lot of things that I do sell are, to me, like timeless things, like retro shirts. They were cool back in the day. They're even cooler now that you can't find them anymore, and they're like way cool when you go to an antique booth and it has like a section of retro shirts. So these things are timeless as well. They got just a neat sense of like the era that's been like stamped on them, you know. And that's what's, I think, maybe that's what hipsters buy, maybe. But I think a lot of people that are hipsters are buying extremely, extremely tight jeans, and they're wearing things that are not super timeless. Like they're wearing like Tom's shoes. Like that's not timeless at all. Like that's just a really, really like in shoe right now, right? So that's what I'm looking at right there to put in my booth tomorrow. I'm going to sticker them up. When I say sticker them up, it's more like tag them up. I'm going to put some tags on them today, like right now. If you did enjoy the video, well, I just like totally shut my desk and something else fell. If you did enjoy the video, like hit the like button. So we have 19 Charger 74. While I won't disclose this part of my antique booth, it says, Bonafide Hustler, what do you pay on average for your booth spot? I'll tell you right now that my booth spot's somewhere between $200 and $300 a month rent. So I'll give you that much of a hint. But yeah, so that's that. Don't let that be. I've talked to people on Facebook that are like, yeah, they're asking $50 for a month, you know, for me to rent a booth in this mall. I've seen the foot traffic. I've seen people walking with stuff in their hands, and I've seen youngsters like, should I pull the trigger? And I'm like, yes, you know. So don't be like, since Bonafide pays $200 a month on his booth, like I should be paying that much. No, like always try to get the deal, okay? But if you have an easy way to get around this old stuff, which here in Austin, Texas, garage sales and thrift stores can produce a fair amount of this stuff, like pretty easily for cheap, then you might want to consider getting into an antique booth, okay? But if you have no way of attaining the supply, then maybe don't do it. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, you know, as opposed to showing you 5 things and be like, here are the 5 things to look for, see you later. Like it'd be in a 1-minute video. To show you concrete examples, I think is always the way I want to teach you guys things. And remember, this is what sells good in my booth. It might not sell good in your booth, but it sells really well in my booth. So I thought it'd be of some value to you guys out there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy. Laters.